Thank you very much. Real quick, again, my name is Brian Tuttle, and basically I've been doing HIPAA compliance consulting for pretty much the last 15 years, or since the HIPAA security rule came into play back in 2003. And there's certainly been a lot going on with this law, especially lately, since 2013, more specific, when the HIPAA omnibus rule went into effect, which sort of changed the landscape a bit, which I'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward here. But I've personally worked as a contractor for the federal government, so I look at things both from the perspective of a federal auditor as well as from the side of the medical practice or the business that's being audited and how they need to defend themselves against an audit. And I've served as expert witness in multiple litigated cases, which we'll briefly touch on, about how the game has definitely changed with the individual remedy being able to sue under state law for violations of your protected health information, which honestly is equal a threat at this point than the federal government proactively auditing you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. We have quite a bit of slides here, and moving on to the first slide, just a very brief bit of history. HIPAA came out in 1996, called the Health Insurance Portability Act, and it's interesting, when the law came out, it really had nothing to do with what we think of the word HIPAA. It wasn't so much about security and privacy of the health information as it was, as the name suggests, for portability of your health insurance. That was the original concept of the law. Moving to the next slide, also known as the Kennedy-Kassenbaum Act. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just want to build up to where we are. It was bipartisan legislation that came out in 96 to have better portability of your health insurance, so the federal government didn't have to foot the bill should you be out of a job for a couple months prior to picking up the next one. There was some coverage from the insurance company. Okay, next slide. If you look at the acronym on slide 4, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. What is missing in that acronym? Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. If you go to slide 5, the words privacy and security aren't even in the name, but by far they present our biggest challenge. The problem with this law, honestly, is it's not explained well. The government tells us what to do, but not how to do it. It's very, very vague, and that makes it extremely frustrating, especially if you have an analytical mind. We want to know the answers, but that's not how the law is. It's all based upon two words: reasonable and appropriate due diligence to mitigate risks, which we'll talk about as we move into emailing, texting, and portable devices, and what is reasonable and appropriate. Okay, so next slide here, and you see the little boy who cried wolf. You're probably scratching your head wondering, why is this in the HIPAA topic? But to me, that's what this law reminds me of. It's been around, at least the HIPAA security rule. It came out in 2003, and for all intents and purposes, it wasn't being implemented. It wasn't being enforced. So the law came out in 96, then the HIPAA security rule, which is the security of electronic protected health information, comes out in 2003. The government sets these standards and these implementation specifications and tell us we got to do risk assessments, we've got to put policies in place, we've got to disaster recovery plan, audit the systems, train our staff, all of these 44 little different bullet points. But it was not being enforced. So what happened over time, because it was not being enforced, is so many practice managers, businesses, so on and so forth, just swept it under the floor, or under the carpet, rather. Because why do we want to spend time and effort on something that's not really an imminent threat? Then we move to slide 7. Well, unfortunately, the wolf is here. And I jest with these pictures, but I am getting calls every single day, and this has been going on really since 2013, from medical practices stating, oh no, we have received an audit letter from the Office of Civil Rights. What do we do? What do we do? Or from a business, they're being audited from the Office of Civil Rights. Or from a medical practice or hospital that is being sued by an individual